So you're thinking about moving to Thailand? This might be the year to do it. In this video, I'm gonna share with you the reasons why people are coming here and loving it. And I'm gonna go deeper than just the superficial reasons or common cliches that you always hear. No, we're gonna go deeper. We're gonna talk about mental health, spiritual growth, physical lifestyle upgrades, and of course, the culture. And we're gonna talk about what Thailand offers that the West just simply doesn't anymore. Now stick with me until midway through the video, and I'll share with you an insight that's gonna determine whether you survive or whether you thrive here. And after that, I'll also talk about the cons because many creators skip that part. Let's go. Most of the time when you hear people talking about the reasons they come here, it's all centered around affordability, right? And yes, it is true that I only pay about $600 to $700 on a beachfront property, one-bedroom apartment with amazing amenities that have 2 pools, 1 gym, 1 games room, a rooftop garden, a steam room, 24-hour security, and so on. And yes, it is true that the delicious meals here are only about $2 to $3 or maybe even $4 per meal. But that's not the real reason that people come here. It's amazing, but it's not the only reason. These are the real reasons. All right, so the first real reason that you should come to Thailand is the culture. The people are nice, warm, and friendly. And this is gonna be not something you just hear from me, but others too. But what I like most is the fact that they have a low temperature, low combative, and high respect type of culture. I think it's to do with their Buddhist origins, because it is a Buddhist country, that is the main religion. People don't normalize holding on to stress and then projecting it onto others. That's just not the type of culture that they have. Like many other places where I'm from, for example, that is normalized. It's normal to feel combative, it's normal to feel heated and then go into attack mode. But this is why being here has a good effect on your mental health. It's easier to be happier when people are actually nicer to you, right? In the West, it's normal for people to weaponize stress and take it out on others. So for example, road rage is a very big thing, at least where I'm from in London. But that sort of thing doesn't happen here in the same way. And you know what's interesting? You can even see this in the police force. I've noticed that the police here are more friendly. But if you compare that to other places, we have to be on high alert because we don't know, how things are gonna unfold when we encounter the people that are supposed to protect us. Here, they treat you with respect. If you don't trouble other people, then they don't trouble you. And less stress equals more happiness. The next reason is the convenience. One thing I love about Thailand is it feels like anything you need is always close by in some form. So think about, for example, convenience stores like the famous 7-Eleven. I think there's one literally within 200 meters on any busy road or place. When it comes to laundromats, getting your clothes washed, dried. When it comes to food, there's always gonna be a food truck nearby. I think even just behind me, there are food huts. You can just go to a food truck, literally just walk downstairs. If you're not too lazy, I'm sure you'll definitely find one. So even if you're too lazy, you find people will just order on the Grab app, which is basically like Uber Eats. And even when it comes to things like renting, accommodation, bikes, vehicles, and so on, it's just one of the most convenient places I've ever been. And if you are coming from a place that offers that already, such as the West, Europe, and so on, you don't have to threat because the convenience that you're already attuned to or used to, you won't be downgraded. You'll be getting the same experience here in Thailand. Another amazing pro of living in Thailand is the fact that you have amazing access. It starts to make travel a part of your lifestyle. So what do I mean by this? Even within Thailand itself, there's so many different places that suit different personality types and preferences. So within Thailand, you can go to the beach if you're a beach person like me. You can go to mountainous regions, rural provinces. If you want to live in the big city, you can be in Bangkok. If you like trees and greenery, you can go to places like Chiang Rai, Chiang Mai, northern Thailand, and so on. And then it goes even further than that, because when we talk about where Thailand is situated in terms of Southeast Asia, you have access to other places like Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Cambodia, Laos. So it's not that hard to get to, very affordable. You just go to Bangkok airport and you can be, in Philippines in a matter of hours for an affordable price. So, as I said, it makes travel a part of your lifestyle in a way that makes you much happier and free. So the next reason is the aspect of safety. And this is not a small one, this is huge, because there's not a lot of places that offer the type of safety that Thailand does. Now, one of the first stories I have of being here is, I remember the first day that I went out, and I remember seeing people leaving. This man, actually, he left his helmet and his key inside the bike before going into the convenience store. And my mind was literally blown. I was like, I wanted to call out and tell him, like, you forgot. And then I saw him come out and he just picked up his helmet, picked up his key, and he just went off. He wasn't really concerned. And then I noticed, as I looked around, that everywhere is literally like that. It's the same thing. So you will see a lot of the time, people will literally leave their keys in the bike. Went to the mall, here's my bike. And look what I forgot. Look what I forgot in my bike. The keys to the bike has been here for hours. And amazingly, the bike is still here. This is crazy to me, right? So it's a high trust, high respect type of society where people are not looking or bracing themselves or expecting some sort of danger or crime. Again, very big thing and a big culture shock for me. Now, when you think about solo travelers, and especially female travelers, a lot of the time they're thinking to themselves, if I go to this particular place, am I going to be safe? If my sister or my mother or my woman was to come to Thailand or travel by themselves around, I would feel comfortable. I would feel confident. I would, be less fearful of what could happen compared to other places. And again, as I said, not a lot of places in the world offer that sort of safety. So the next reason is the food, and in particular, it's the access to healthy options that are also delicious. Now, it's not really much of a surprise because Thai cuisine is known as, one of the most famous in the world. One thing I really love is that there's always a truck going by or a market nearby that has fresh fruit and veg. And it's nice to be in a place where you're not always worrying about food being genetically modified like it is in the West. Now, this has a positive effect because I've seen people come here and lose weight as a result of being in an environment where they're encouraged to eat healthier. So if having food that's delicious is a big plus for you, then Thailand might be the place for you. So before we get to the cons, and you're gonna wanna stay for that, let's talk about a bonus benefit that was really instrumental and influential in getting me to move here, which is I wanted to be away from the political agenda and the social chaos that exists now in the Western world, and in particular, the imbalance between men and women and the energetic chaos that we have with the gender war. So, when you're in the West, it's normalized for men and women to hate each other. There's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of confusion, and it really doesn't bode well for your spiritual health. But when you come here, it's different because they're more in tune and agreeable to traditional values, with religion and spirituality and all of those things. So it really does help with your spiritual health. And it can only just make you happier when you come. So now let's get to the cons. So now we're going to talk about the insight that's going to either make or break your time here in Thailand. And this is a truth that no one talks about. It's very important because Thailand offers you freedom, but it doesn't offer you structure. Now, this is important because if you're someone who's unstructured and lacks focus, I wouldn't say this is the place for you. You need to be focused and you need to be driven because there's so many fun things to do here, but your leisures can turn into a distracting pleasure if you lack that control. If you're focused, Thailand will amplify that focus, but if you're undisciplined and you lack focus, it will also exemplify and amplify that too. So this is the real deciding factor between what is going to make or break your time here and determine whether you survive or whether you thrive. Before we explore the supposed cons, I want to make clear that they aren't necessarily cons in a way. They are more just difficulties that you have to face when moving here. It shouldn't actually stop you from coming. It's just that a lot of creators like to paint a perfect picture as if there's going to be no difficulty. But that's why we're going to go into the other aspects that you have to look at that will help you make your decisions. And the first con is the visa situation. So the rules and the regulations surrounding visas is constantly changing, and it creates a sense of uncertainty because you never know year to year what the next regulation is going to be or the next rule. So one year could be one thing and literally next year it can be another thing. Thailand is kind of infamous for this. So it's very important to make sure you're doing proper visa planning ahead of coming here. Otherwise you could find yourself in a tough spot later on. It's not something that's impossible, you know, it's definitely possible to sort out, but it is something that you have to make sure you look out for. So this would be a good time to tell you about a service I've been using for free accommodation. It's called Trusted House Sitters. And no, this isn't a sponsored ad, although if they do sponsor me, I'd be happy to work with them because I've actually been using their service. So basically it's a platform where you can sign up to get accommodation in return for watching and taking care of someone's house while they're away. So it could include watching their house, watching their pets, or watching their plants. Now this is good because it allows you to get accommodation worldwide. I've stayed in Dubai, Malaysia, and even my hometown London, getting free accommodation. There is an annual cost for the membership, but that cost for the entire year is less than the price for one night stay in a Airbnb, so it's definitely worth it. So this is something that you can use to get free accommodation in Thailand before you commit to being here long term. And if you want to check it out just for more information, then check out the link in my description. And if you sign up using that, then I believe you'll get 20% off. But then after that, you should look as soon as possible to get a long-term visa option. So that could include the DTV visa that they have right now at the time of recording. It could also be the immigration, non-immigrant visa, education visa. You could have a work visa. And of course, there's the retirement visa, right? So you want to look into that. Don't find yourself in a position where you're wishing that you would have done it earlier. All right, so after you decide you like it, and I think you will, make sure you get the right visa. I'm here on a long-term visa, so for me, it's not that much of an issue. It does give me confidence when I'm moving in and out of the country, and it does give me a sense of confidence and stability, comfort, you know, knowing that at least for the next few years, I'm definitely allowed to stay here with no trouble. Now let's get to the next con. The second con that we have is the air pollution and air quality. You know, this is a very important one because obviously it affects your physical health, you know. When you're in a place that has high pollution levels, it can have damaging long-term effects on your lungs. Bangkok, you know, the big city, has a very high PM levels. Even if you go to places up north like Chiang Mai, they have the burning season, and for some periods of the year the air is extremely toxic and very polluted because of all of the vegetation that they're burning. And this even affected me because there were some months that I wanted to go, like when I first came to Thailand, I wanted to go to Chiang Mai, but I couldn't go because it was burning season. And I heard all of the horror stories about people literally having respiratory issues because of how bad the air is. So you want to make sure you're properly planning where you're going and at what time you're going so that you can avoid things like burning season and protect your lungs, but also to make sure that you make the most of your time here while you're in Thailand. So another con is the heat, and it does take a bit of getting used to, especially for someone like myself from a cold country like the UK. But to be honest, I would rather be in a warmer country than a colder country, right? I've already experienced it. It's a little bit too much for me. However, there are some times where I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Sometimes before I even leave the house, I will be sweating. You know, I'll have showered, got ready, and as I'm putting on my clothes before I leave the house, it's almost like I have to shower again. So that can be a little annoying. Also, if you're not used to the heat, you have to put on the AC. Now the AC eats up and racks up a lot of energy and bills, increases, you know, what you have to spend on top of your rent and so on. So that can be a little bit annoying too. But again, it's not like the worst thing in the world. I feel like it's taken me maybe a year, you know, to get used to it, and now I don't really think too much of it, and I don't put the AC on as much. I do enjoy it now. So if you can say a con, that would be it. But for many people, it might even be a pro. Okay, and another big con here is obviously the language barrier. Now, it's not to say that it's their fault that they don't speak English. Of course, you're coming to their country, and I'm a big believer in the fact that you should be learning the language of the country that you're going to. But it also is, of course, you know, a factor. Simple things can sometimes feel difficult just because you don't know what to say or how to get your message across. So I definitely recommend an easy solution that isn't so easy in practice is to learn a few phrases. You don't have to learn everything. You don't have to be fluent, but you, in my opinion, do need to know the basics, and you do need to know the survival phrases and so on. So in my opinion, you need to know at least the basics of the language in order to have a better time here in Thailand. So, in conclusion, Thailand has changed my life, and it has had a positive effect on me in almost every aspect, right? And you don't know what it can do for you until you come here and experience it. Don't be on the sidelines wishing, dreaming, hoping, and watching other people live the life that you want to live. Maybe it's not for you, and that's fine. There probably is something else for you too. But if this is for you, if there is a part of your heart that is calling towards this place, then make sure you investigate this, research it, and at least attempt to experience it to see if it is for you or not. Please don't let it be something you look at and say, oh, I wish I went. You don't have to be here straight away. I do have another video that talks about how to move so that I can, you know, help give you advice on how to prepare. So if you want to check that out, make sure you subscribe to my channel, go through my videos. I make a lot of content on masculine, feminine, spirituality dynamics, exploring different cultures and this travel journey, you know, as we explore life, you could say. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure you join, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.